Hey, welcome back for another episode of Mission 309. I have Stacy McCormick with me, and welcome to the vlog show here, Stacy.
Thank you. I'm excited to get to chat a little bit, and excited that we met at a chamber meeting haphazardly.
Hey, you never know who you're going to bump into in any given day.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear a little bit about what you've got going on with your nonprofit. It's lymphomasaLoser.com. I've got that scrolling across the bottom. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about your story and how you got this nonprofit started and why it started.
Yeah. So back in 2013, my husband was diagnosed with lymphoma. Hence the lymphoma is a loser. It was one of those things where he just had like a cough that wouldn't go away, and tried to just take some over-the-counter medicine for it, and finally went through the motions of getting checked out. And so in January, it took a couple of months for him to get a correct diagnosis, but he was diagnosed with diffused large B-cell lymphoma in January of 2013. So he had a 4-year journey with 2 separate stem cell transplants. So he did have one locally here in Peoria, and then the second one was a donor transplant. So we did that in Chicago. So we had to live in Chicago for 4 months, which is not my favorite part of the journey. But at any rate, he actually ended up passing in January of 2017. His cancer was gone, but he had some complications from the transplant. So during his one of the times that he had relapsed, one of my best friends, her husband was diagnosed with lymphoma as well. And I remember like it was yesterday, her calling me and saying, "Stacy, we have something in common." And I'm like, "Well, of course we do. We've been friends since high school." And for a reason, right? And she's like,
Yeah.
my husband just got diagnosed with lymphoma. And I'm like, "What?" It's like, what are the chances? I mean, when you're not in that cancer world, like you don't think about other people who have maybe had that journey, or you don't hear about it. So it actually, brought us a lot closer together. And I was able to help her go through the testing processes and chemo treatment, and the husbands were able to talk. And one of the things that we did was we always I don't even think hashtagging on Facebook was like a thing, but for whatever reason, we just kind of started doing that. And so one of our hashtags was lymphoma is a loser. And we just thought we were being funny. And fast forward, 5 years, 6 years, and here we are. But so when John was sick, he always wanted to help other people. So we had a friend who got diagnosed with breast cancer as he was going through treatment. And he was like, "We have to send her a care package." He tried to mail her wine. I'm like, "You can't mail wine. That's
I
not
was gonna say, I don't think you can do that.
You cannot. He went to the post office with wine. He wanted, he knew that would cheer her up. And, we had some other things that we sent, and we kind of decided then that we wanted to give back locally. And so I said we cashed in all of our, let me know if you need something, because people don't know, anything specific to do for you. So it's like, and I'm guilty of saying it. And I'm like, "Stacy, that's not the right thing to do. You need to just do the things." And I said, well, let's do something for the treatment rooms at the Pekin Clinic, which Pekin has an Illinois Cancer Care Clinic. A lot of people didn't know that either. So the Peoria Clinic gets the bulk of the donations. That's their main clinic, or that's not the word I want to use, but it is. Anyway, they get a lot of donations. And so John would always be like, "Man, that's like the country club of Illinois Cancer Care Clinics, because they have pets that come around and they serve you cookies, and, they do all these cool things where the smaller clinics don't have that opportunity necessarily." And the Pekin Clinic, they have a beautiful new clinic now, but the clinic when he got treated was very small. And so he couldn't have anybody sit with him during treatment. And so it was important to us to come up with a way to give patients something to do when they were at clinic. And so we made up bags. We called in all the favors, all the, let me know if you need some things. And we raised $2,000. And so we bought little lunch pails, the insulated ones. We bought some of those. We bought color books, like the adult coloring books, peppermints, because peppermint can help with nausea when you're getting a treatment. Playing cards. We put like a bottle of water with like a packet of like lemonade, or just all kinds of little things. We put all those together and we took them to the Pekin Clinic, and so that was just kind of our way of giving back to patients that weren't being treated at the Peoria Clinic, but were, it's still nice to get something, even if it's not something that they're maybe not necessarily going to use. It's something that it's nice to receive things, right? To know that
Yeah,
someone
it's
else
the thought that
is
counts. If
thinking
somebody
of
thinks
it.
enough of
It
you
is.
to
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
give something to put a little smile on your face when it's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And of course, right now I can't think of like any of the other stuff that we put in, but we put a ton of stuff in these bags. So anyway, we did that, it started early. So then once John had passed, and I was like, I just really want to do something on a bigger scale. And I don't know what I want to do. I just want to do it. Like if I had to go through 4 years of treatment and 2 transplants and helping my best friend, get through everything, and it's I got to find a bigger way to do it. And so we kind of decided, like, let's do this. Let's figure it out. So yeah, we knew that Lymphoma is a Loser kind of had to be the name. And I mean, we don't do things just for lymphoma patients. That's just the kind of our tagline, and our way to give back to the community.
that's awesome. Yeah, and I think it's awesome to give back to people in those cancer care centers, because that's an incredibly difficult thing to deal with. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I've seen it. My father actually passed away of cancer when I was 16. So
Oh
I
gosh.
spent a little bit of time when I was 16 years old. I drove him to and from Methodist, I think is where he got his treatment.
Yeah.
Been a long time ago now, but I know those are not the most cheerful, upbeat environments, and I think that's one of the things you have to have mentality wise, uh, you know, to fight something as big as cancer or any other major disease or
Yeah.
problem that you're
Yeah. It
facing.
doesn't
Like,
have to
you
be.
have to have the right kind of mindset and just
Yeah.
stay positive in some way, shape, or form. So I
And
think,
that's
put a little smile on somebody's face and makes a difference in a day.
Yeah, and that was one of our like big things, is that I actually still, you know, text with one of and hang out with one of the nurses that John had, and she was, close in age to him, and we got very close to her. He spent lots of time sitting in the treatment room, and she would crack jokes with him, and he always wanted to have the prices right on. And so after he passed, I bought a TV for the clinic. They had like an old tube TV. And so I took it in and I'm like, listen, Heather, here's your deal. This thing has to be on The Price is Right at 10, or I'm going to take it back home. Like, you have to have it, like, it has to be on The Price is Right. Like, that's just the thing. And she's like, we can do that. So, and now that they have a new clinic, they have, nice new TVs and things like that. So I think they put the one that I bought, I think they took it with them, but they put it in the break room.
Hey, you
But
know what? It's still there for a cause, right?
it is. And
Some
I mean,
entertainment.
yeah, and it's a hard situation when you're going through that. But when you do have people that are caring for you, the nurses and just the staff at, I mean, I could never have a job where I worked with patients that were very sick. Like, yes, I cared for my husband, but at the same time, like, it takes a very, very special person to work in that oncology environment. And that's another reason why we wanted to give back, because we know how lucky we were to have made, genuine friends through the process. So it's nice to be able to give back and show them some love, since they, took care of us I remember getting handed a clipboard to sign for a treatment, and was like, don't look me in the face, just sign that. Like, I can't look at you because I'm going to cry. And it's like, when you have people who care about you and your situation, just as much as you do, like, it's a great, great feeling. So, I feel like, how could you not want to, pay it forward or give back?
Absolutely. So what are you guys doing as an organization now to give back, or some things you've done recently?
Yeah, so we do kind of how everything started to go with the full blown nonprofit is we took over an event that was in Morton for 5 years. It's the Totes for Tatas event. So it's like a designer. It's not like a designer it's a designer purse auction.
So what is like a designer? Is
I
that
don't
like
know.
knockoffs from some other country?
Yeah, no, they're real purses. They're real purses. But we get live like actual auctioneers, not just
That's
somebody
cool.
pretending to be an auctioneer. It's they're up there
Well, I don't know
slinging.
if you can pretend to be an auctioneer.
They're probably not very good at it,
They
right?
got some special skills. I don't know how they
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. So we've had a couple of different groups of auctioneers that have helped us out over the years, but I mean it's live auctioneers up there slinging Coach bags and Kate Spade and Michael Kors, and so we do that event in October. It's the third Saturday in October every year. This year it's October 15th, and we this last year we were able to donate from that event $18,000 to Illinois Cancer Care's Breast Cancer Research Fund. So
Nice.
and we do stuff throughout the year. We have purses at a couple of boutiques locally. Riviera Tan here in Pekin has them. And then Timeless Treasure Market over in Metamora has, they also have donation bins there as well. So we take donations year round for that. And they don't have to be new bags. They can be what we call gently loved. But we took over that event 5 years ago, or after they had done it for 5 years. So we have done it for 3 years. And once we kind of took that over, it was like, okay, well, if we're going to do this, let's do it. And right after that, a friend approached me about doing a golf outing, which he'd asked me about before. And I was like, I'm not ready. I can't, I
That's a
don't
little bit of an undertaking, logistics wise.
It's a lot. It's a lot to do. And he's like, "Oh, I've done tons of golf outings." And I was like, "I've done zero." So,
Experience, right?
so
Like, hey, help me out.
yeah, after I had already taken on the commitment of doing this, Totes for Tatas event, he was like, "Well, what do you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, fine. Like again, go big or go home. Like let's do it." So, the Johnny Mac Golf Palooza is what we call it, and we do that it's the last Saturday of August. Is kind of the date that we have settled on, but that's August 27th this year. So it's a 4-person scramble, and it's like not your average golf outing. Like we want it to be fun. John was a terrible golfer,
That
and
sounds like
so
me.
but he wanted to have like he had like the nicest golf clubs of all his friends, right? Like he, like, oh, I have to have these golf clubs. Well, if I get these golf clubs, I'm going to golf more.
When you are a bad player, you have to try to look good.
Yeah,
Bad.
I mean, I guess if that's what you have to do, but
I don't have
so
any clubs though. I've got some old hand-me-downs that I bought for $100 from some guy on Craigslist years ago.
I
And it
mean,
doesn't help my
listen,
game at all.
I mean, if they get you out on the course with friends on a nice day, then who cares, right? Like you don't
Exactly.
always have to be like the best golfer, and that's kind of the theme of our tournament. Yeah, we'll hand out a prize for the winners, but we have you like putt from a toilet.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't seen that at a golf outing because that's the only golf I really play is golf outings.
Yeah,
They're
and
fun.
there's a lot of people
Do
that are
that.
like that. There's a lot of people that are like that. So yeah, Corey was like, well, I always wanted to do that. But he had been the golf pro at like fancy country clubs and things like that. And I was like, well, I mean, you're the director of golf here in Pekin. So I mean, you answer to yourself. I don't know. He has a boss, but yeah, so we have a toilet that we put out on the hole there on Parkview, and that's everybody always is like, are you bringing the toilet back? I'm like, oh, we'll switch up other holes, but we will always have the toilet just for something fun. So we usually do Corey's here in town is always so nice, and we'll donate they've donated a wing party, and so it's kind of a cool prize to win. You get like wings for a couple hours or whatever for 10 people or something. And so we usually have that be the prize for that hole. So the first year, I think only one person made it in. And then this last year, I think we had 4 people make it. And so we
Wow.
had to like draw, we put them all in a bucket and drew the names out.
I'm gonna
But
have to start thinking about, how do you golf from? I wonder if there's YouTube videos on that.
There,
on golf.
there probably is. There probably is. I don't think there's a lot of skill involved, to be honest
I'm
with
either
you.
one. I mean, honestly, I want for golfing for me. I've got to be sober and serious, and it's game on, or I better be, have a few beers down and loosened up. Neither
And
one helps my game, but I got to play one way or another. And sitting on the toilet, yeah, I'm just trying to be like, how would I even swing the club? Or I'm assuming it's on the green,
yeah,
but
you're just
how do
putting.
you putt? How do you hold the club?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. They don't teach you golf pros don't teach that.
No, they don't. But we like to do that. We did another hole that a lot of people like. One of my friend's little guys watched Dude Perfect all the time. I know you have kids. I don't know if Dude Perfect is a
I've
thing
heard
in
of
your
it,
house, but where we just take like a bunch of different. It started. We just grabbed like stuff they had in their garage. So it was like a tennis racket, a football, a soccer ball, a frisbee, like for like frisbee golfing. And we had them like they had to use that to like play the hole. So that was one that everybody, you know, and I will say we've been very blessed with like even being in a pandemic to be able to still have the events in 2020 and 2021 and to be able to do it safely. I know that like that's a huge thing. You know, we were like, are we going to be able to do any fundraising events? We don't want to take a year off and then lose the momentum that we've, kind of started creating and stuff. So, so we were able to do everything. So we didn't do the all sports hole, as we call it, in 2020, because we were just worried about sanitizing stuff. And it's
Makes
just,
sense. Yeah.
you don't know. I mean, everybody's touching everything. And so, so we did not do that, hole. And, we did do though, we called it the club chucker. So you got a prize for throwing a golf club the furthest. Now, we have since retired the club chucker because it proved to be a little too dangerous.
I can see that going sideways.
I'm kind of surprised that we actually got away with it for 2 years. But yes, the club did go sideways a time or two.
I bet, yeah.
I wasn't at that hole the whole time, but yeah, so we do, those are our two primary events. That's kind of the events that got us started doing the Totes for Tatas. And so now we just kind of look for some different ways to get our name out there and to keep like I said, the momentum going. It's, we don't want to be the we were just it's the Johnny Mac Golf Palooza. Well, we actually are a 501c3 registered nonprofit. And so that nonprofit is Lymphoma is a Loser. We just hold the events, Johnny Mac Golf Palooza and Toast for Tatas. So, so that's been a little bit of a hurdle for people to understand. And, we did start getting that momentum, but then it's like, well, your tax receipt is going to come from Lymphoma is a Loser. And that's what a lot of people, care about, is that for any, donations or sponsorships, if that's something that we can, provide for that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned the pandemic and fundraising, and I'd venture to say every single nonprofit out there had their own unique challenges with that. But would you say that maybe it, in some way, shape, or form, might have been a good way for creativity? Did you have to find any ways to, work around restrictions and things you could and couldn't do to try and raise funds?
Did I prompt you for that? Did I tell you something? Because there is one. I mean, there's several little things, right? One of the big things that we did is that all the previous years that we had attended Totes for Tatas, and the first year that we did it, we did like the paper silent auction forms. Well, with COVID, we were like, how are we going to do this? And people aren't going to be comfortable, coming to an event. We can't have, a ton of people in one place. So we did, for 2020, we did the Totes for Tatas event. We held it as like an open house over, like 4 or 5 hours. And then our auction, we did, everything was silent auction, and we used a website called Charity Auctions Today. And we found that was, fit our situation the best. Yes, there's some, additional fees involved, but we had somebody who won, was the highest bidder that was in, like, I want to say it was like Oklahoma or something. And like they had a family member that had encouraged them to sign up, and they took I didn't have to ship it to Oklahoma. They took everything. So we've continued to use that online platform for our silent auction. Obviously the live auction, when everybody can can be in the same room and can be excited, and that kind of gets everybody kind of pumped up to, oh, I'm going to outbid this person or that person, or you've maybe had a glass of wine or two, and maybe more than you would have had at home looking at your phone. So with that, really, the online auction really, like I said, if you can't come to the event, you don't feel comfortable coming, with the COVID and stuff, like they were able to still participate, virtually. And I really didn't have that many items to deliver. It was a lot of the kind of the good part about it being a little bit of a smaller event is that people could, a lot of the people were like friends of our committee members or something, or, two friends bid on stuff. And so they both, one picked up for two people or things like that. So
yeah, it easier being more
yeah. Cause that's the only part is you're like, oh shoot, am I going to have to ship? Where am I going to have to ship
to Alaska?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We didn't account for that when we, really started thinking about it, but yeah, so we've had, and we did ship a couple of things, but not, we had, this past year we had my friend sells Pampered Chef. And so she had donated, like casserole dishes. And I was like, I'm going to have to ship that. And then I had texted the person and they're like, no, just give it to so-and-so. I'm like, whew, that would have been a heavy one to ship.
It would. Wow. So you've got those two events this year. What else? Anything else that your organization is looking at doing?
Yeah, what's that?
Or anything that you guys need help with?
Yeah. So
fundraising is always the easy thing.
Last year we did a hanging basket fundraiser. I had initially reached out to a nursery about doing a mom fundraiser. You see those, a lot of times sports teams doing that. And after I thought about it, I was like, that's right in the middle of our two events. Like our events are literally like 6 weeks apart. And so you can only go to the well so many times, right? Like you want your friends to support you and they're happy to support you, but you don't want to, that's the timing wasn't really good for that. But they said, hey, we do a hanging basket fundraiser. And I was like, I'll try it. So we did that last year, and we're going to, hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we should be doing that again. And we'll have all the information out on our Facebook page and on our website and whatnot. And then they usually come in, those type of things, they'll come in like right before Mother's Day. It's like a week or two.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I'll speak to the guys. Guys, pay attention.
Yes. Absolutely. Or even people like me that have a black thumb. Like I killed mums once. I mean, it's terrible. And so I'm like, I'm not buying for myself, but I'll buy one for my mom, or I'll buy one for my grandma or something like that. But that's
why I've got fake plants. Oops, I'm pointing over the wrong shoulder here, but yeah, it's fake. Yeah. So is the one over in the corner.
Yeah. I even tried to grow a cactus last year, and that didn't work out. I'm like, you really don't even have to water a cactus.
That's a good point. Yeah. Some people have
So we're going to do the flower fundraiser here again. Like I said, hopefully we'll get that information in the next couple of weeks. They don't come in until the end of April. So there's plenty of time before we do that. And then we're hoping to do, I need to kind of get on it to maybe do like a trivia night. I know that's something that we've wanted to kind of do. And I know there are some other places locally that do that. And where, we don't have to come up with the questions and whatnot. Like,
I know, right? Well, that'd be a lot of work.
Yeah, that's my concern.
You make everybody mad by having a sports category.
Yeah. So yeah, we're thinking, we kind of want to do that. We want to come up with some other little things to do, throughout the year that aren't, we don't necessarily have the capacity to do, huge events. I mean, we all work full time. This is not a nonprofit that somebody's, taking a paycheck or anything like that. So any donations go directly to our fundraising efforts. But I mean, I would love for that to be my full-time job and to be able to just do that and give back to the community. But I'm not in a position to do that now. So I like to say that my job that pays my bills gets in the way of my fun side gig. Like, well, I can't do that because I actually have to work. So, so we want to come up with some more things to do. Like I said, trivia nights. We've tossed around the idea of doing a bags tournament or something like that. We kind of something else where it's just, doesn't take us 4 months to prep. Some more things that take, just a few hours of prep, and maybe some dining out nights. That's something else that we have done in the past that we'd like to do, again in the future, just to keep our name out there and be able to find ways to give back. So
absolutely. Yeah, you kind of hit on something that I've heard before. There's no shortage of ideas. There's tons of ideas for fundraising. It all comes down to the timing and the volunteers to run it.
Yes.
Without the timing, without being able to put it together and host it within whatever time frame you need, or to have the people off, it's just never going to happen. Because I've had ideas for nonprofits I've been associated with, and it's like, okay, pump the brakes, Keith. Like, do we have people for that?
If you want to pass them along, if you want to pass your ideas along, we're going to start committee meetings soon. But we like that
idea. So if I get any, I will pass them along to you.
Yes. We, that's one thing that I should know is that, like, I certainly don't do anything by myself. We have a huge group of friends and family that, I have people from, like, I will be at every meeting. I will, I'll run the meeting if you're not there. I, will do everything that I can for you. And then there's, friends that are like, I don't really like to go to meetings, but if you give me a job on the date of the event, I'm there. And I'm like, I need those people too. Nobody is going to offend me. If you're someone who is really good at serving food, then great. I am not, and it's hard for me to be pinned down in one place for any period of time. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off every event, but we do. And I wouldn't have been able to even start anything without knowing that I do have a great support system. The support system that supported us through our cancer journey is still the same people who are supporting me in our fundraising efforts and in executing these events. And sometimes it's just like, I can't be there for that event, but hey, here's a person you can contact for, a food vendor, or, this, I'd like to donate something, a raffle. Both of our events, we have, for the golf outing, we do raffles. For the Totes for Tatas, we do silent auction. We've done a few different raffle things. It just kind of depends on what we have to see what works. But, we take donations for those kinds of things. And it's nice to have, those people that are like, well, I'm not going to be able to do this or that, but, can I give a donation? And so, it's one of those things where it's like no donation is too small. We can use anything. I have a 14-year-old that I put to work making baskets. And, I remember this year I was like, hey, can you use this? And she's like, well, what is that? I said, it's a luggage tag. And she's like, yes. And she comes back 5 minutes later with like all this, like, travel-y stuff put all together in a basket. And I was like, that's why I keep you around, kid.
Yeah. Somebody's got to be creative, right?
Yes. And I can do those things, but I'm not quick at it. And so, to have that person who is the director of zhuzhing, as she calls herself. But she knows that, that's her job, and that's what, she'll do for that day. Or, setting up for the golf outing. I'm like, somebody said, can I help you? And I said, yes, but you're going to listen to that 13-year-old over there. She has a plan and she knows what she's doing. And so please just let her tell you what to do. I understand she's 13, but she knows. And so, Now she doesn't win every battle. She doesn't get to just run the show. Let's be
Yeah,
clear.
you can't let the kids have their head get too big, right?
Yeah, no, but she knows that that's what she's good at, and that's her specialty, and she knows that I'm not, I'm like, here, make this pretty. I have other things I'm working on. You do this part. So
It's
it
great
kind
that
of,
you got kids involved too.
yeah, and
Because it's something that these younger generations, need to get out and volunteer and see what that does. Volunteers will get what I'm saying, but
yes,
people who, it just does something in your heart to give back in some way, even if it's small.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you kind of caught that. That is another thing that is, very important to me, is kind of like, it's not that I'm like succession planning just yet, like I'm not done with anything, but so Elizabeth that makes those, Evan, who came up with the all sports hole, for the golf outing, and kind of wanted to do that. He wanted to actually have them use an oar on the green, and we were told that that maybe wasn't a good idea. So
Interesting idea.
We went with something else. So, but both of them, know, they knew John, and while they were young, when John passed, like John is still, there's still pictures of them with John when they were little, and their family, that particular family, gives back. They're very involved with their church and things like that. And so, they always, like, it's kind of funny that I kind of joke that, like, if there's a volunteer opportunity, they're not going to pass it up. So that's, that the kids, those two in particular, have it ingrained in their head that that's just what you do. And they are full blown members of Lymphoma is a Loser. And you don't try to tell them otherwise, because they know how important that is to me, and how, and I'll talk to them about, well, what do you think about this? And they'll come up with ideas. We'll be sitting eating dinner, and they'll throw out something. Well, why don't we do this? And sometimes we're like, why don't we? Why didn't we think of that? And not
kids'
only
brains
them,
work differently sometimes. You just
yeah,
never know where the
yeah,
inspiration is going to come from.
not only them, but there's a couple of other kids that we have known, since they were, 5 and 6 years old, and they're in high school now, and they help out with the events, and they know that they're going to be there all day on the golf outing, or they know that, they will help set up tables and things like that, and do whatever, we need them to do. And so it is kind of heartwarming to see them wanting, they're not doing it because somebody's telling them to do it. Like, they really want to help out, and they want to be involved, and they want to give back. And they, in fact, Evan and Elizabeth, their grandmother passed last December, and the family decided that memorial contributions could come to Lymphoma is a Loser. And so I'm like, well, we've never had this happen before. What can we do? And so a way to kind of get the kids involved is we decided we went back to the drawing board where John and I had done the bags for the treatment room at the Pekin Clinic. And I said, what do you guys think about this? Like, let's get some bags. So we got some canvas tote bags with our logo on it. And they took the kids shopping to buy all the stuff to fill it. So we had, I took them with me. Menards always has a super good deal. You can take the girl out of Menards, but you can't take the Menards out of the girl. So they always had a good deal on, like, those fleece blankets where they were like a couple bucks. And so I took the kids with me, and I said, we're going to go buy these blankets. And they were like, because I buy them every year pretty much anyway, and take them to the clinic. And so the kids were like, how many we're going to buy? And I said, fill up the cart. What? Fill up the cart? I'm like, yes, just fill up the cart. We're going to just buy a cart full of blankets. That's how many we're going to buy. And they're like, I think they're used to me telling them that we have a budget. And so they're like, wait a minute. I'm like, no, we're going to fill up the whole cart. And so we bought blankets. So every bag got a fleece blanket, and it got things I mentioned before, the coloring books, We actually did jigsaw puzzles, hand sanitizer. We had put hand sanitizer in before hand sanitizer was like the cool thing, you know. We
Before it
did
was hard to
that.
get.
Yes, yes. We could get our hands on it. We put hand sanitizer. We did. I'm trying to think what else they bought. Like they just again figured out how many we needed to buy to do, you know, one round of bags to take to the clinic, and then we printed up like a little postcard size that said that these were donated in memory of Pat Curlis, and we put it in the bags and took those to the clinic. And so it actually worked out that we were able to go to the clinic like after they had closed. There was no patients in there. Everybody was masked up. And so they got to be there when we gave them to, you know, the folks at the clinic. And so that was really kind of a special way for them to be, you know, involved, and they got to pick some of the things that went into the bags. And, you know, well, what about this? Or, you know, what about a jigsaw puzzle, or the playing cards, you know, just different things that, again, it's, you know, stuff that people can do while they're sitting there receiving treatment. And again, it just kind of is another way to, you know, for us to give back specifically, like I said, to the Pekin Clinic, and have the kids involved. So
That's awesome. I'm sure that's something they will never forget.
yeah,
Being
and
that
like,
involved in something like that.
yeah, it's a good way to it was a good way to have them come up with the ideas of what to put in it. You know, I mean, we kind of prompted them with a few things, but then they kind of took it and ran with it and found, you know, certain coloring pencils to put in with the color book and things like that. So so yeah, it's always good to have them, and to you know, to they know that they know John, and they know, you know, but they were so little when he passed, and to know that like we are doing something in his memory, and, you know, that particular event in their grandmother's memory. And it's just a way to kind of honor, you know, that person that's not here with us anymore, and give them, you know, they know that we do Lymphoma is a Loser because of John. They might not remember, you know, any specific memory, but they know why we do it, and have met other people who have had, you know, cancer and things like that. It seems like, you know, if you have no one person, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, or once it's a primary part of your life, then it seems like it's everywhere, and it's on every television show, and it's, you know, all your friends have gotten diagnosed. And you know, our close circle of friends, abnormally close, these people that have been friends since high school, there's like 20 of them. And I'm like, how are you guys still friends? But there's 3 of them, you know, including John, who have had cancer. You know, John, of course, passed, and then 2 of our friends have also had breast cancer. And so it's just kind of crazy it's good to show the kids to make something good out of what has happened in your life, I guess, is where it took me a long way to get there. That's a little long-winded, you know?
Yeah. And it's good to get them involved and give back. And yeah, the cancer thing, it's something that, you know, unfortunately, all of us are going to be affected by it in some small way in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, there's so many different forms, so many different ages. I mean, it's just like, you know, a lot of other medical issues out there too. Like, you know, people have medical issues. We're humans.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, let's put a smile on some people's faces when they're
Yeah.
going through some dark times.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
awesome.
Exactly.
Awesome. It's awesome to hear what you're doing. You got the website scrolling at the bottom, lymphomasaluser.com. And then to recap, you've got the golf outing, and then you've got the what do you call it? The bras for tatas?
Totes for tatas.
Totes for tatas. Okay. All right. I was thinking of another event there. But got those coming up this year. So go check out your Facebook page. I know you got an Instagram. I'll have all those in the YouTube description so people can go find it.
Perfect.
And they can look you up, like, follow, and subscribe to what she's doing, so you know when these events are coming up and when she needs some help.
Yep, there will be no question as we get closer. We'll be you'll hear about something different every day as we get geared up for the events, and can start showing sneak peeks of some of the purses that we've gotten donated, or few that we've purchased and things like that. We like to let people know what they're what they're going to be able to take a look at.
Yeah, build up a little bit of interest.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever those purses are. I mean, I'm not you rattled off a bunch of names. I've heard of them, but doesn't mean anything to me. But I know it means something to other people.
It does. It does. Yes, it does mean something to other people. But
I know what the Louis Vuitton
yeah,
logo looks like. Other than that, I would be lost. I couldn't pick out any of them in a pile. So,
and sadly, we don't get a lot of Louis Vuitton here in Central Illinois.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's one that people donate to often, but that's okay. We get, like I said, we get a lot of Gently Loved, Coach, and Michael Kors. I'm going to keep naming names until you're like, oh, I know that one.
I've heard of them.
And they don't have to be name brands. Like, we have things that aren't name brands either. So there's, just things that are, look cute or have we just saw some this week that is being donated. Spoiler alert. Sorry, Kim. She's the one who found them. But like canvas tote bags that have like a Jeep on them. So like it says like Jeep Girl or something like that. So, something else that's it's not necessarily geared toward, it's not a name brand, but it's a handmade, a handmade bag that
somebody will still like it and still have a use for it.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you've got bags laying around that you're not using, that are gently used, also get in touch with Stacy.
It's springtime.
You can definitely use those.
Spring cleaning, be cleaning out those clodsets. They take donations at we have actually 4 places. Illinois Cancer Care out on Route 91 will take donations for us. Timeless Treasure Market in Metamora, Blush Studio in East Peoria, and then Riviera Tan in Pekin.
There you go.
Or if you own another shop that you would like to be a collection site.
There you go. Good job. That should cover just about all the bases of what you're doing. So it's awesome to see that you're doing something in your husband's name and doing something to put a smile on people's faces and doing it right here in this area, affecting the people that we all live next to.
Yep.
And these are our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues, and everybody. So I appreciate you stopping by the show and sharing with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you having us. This is an exciting thing. I'm looking forward to seeing who else you get to talk with and see what else is going on right here in our backyards, right?
As am I. Always excited. It's what's better than knowing what's going on in your own community.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Once again, appreciate it, Stacy.
Thank you.